I think most people have joined, so welcome everyone to the third training session that we're running, doing every second Friday. Hopefully, quite a few of you we've seen at other sessions, and hopefully you're getting a little bit of value out of them. So this morning's session is looking at the different Business Central reporting options that we have available. It's something we get asked about a lot. So what I wanted to do was to take you through what options are available and give you a little sense of how they all work. Okay, so just to get straight into it, so just the introduction. So that's me on the left, Doug. I probably know most of you, but for those of you who don't, I'm one of the directors at Linc, and Zaan is also on the call. Some of you might know her. She's not going to be doing presenting, but she's the Q&A moderator. So if you've got any questions along the way, just type them into the Q&A section in Teams. She'll review them and publish them if they're relevant, or and we'll address them as we go along. Either address them as we go along or wait until the end and look at them all in the session at the end. We'll also leave a bit of time to answer questions at the end, so you can either ask questions as we go along or can wait until the end. Either one is fine. Okay, so just to get into the agenda, this was on the invite, but just to go through it again. So we're going to look at financial reporting. For those of you that are on slightly older versions of Business Central, I think it changed in Business Central 19. They changed it from account schedules, and now it's called financial reporting. So if you search for it, you search for financial reporting. I think if you search for account schedules, it will come up. Financial reporting will come up, but they've just changed the name. We'll look at analysis views and what those are and why you use them and how they work. We'll spend a very brief amount of time on the standard reports. Those are the kind of reports that you want to print out. We'll have a quick look at Jet reports and as a tool and what you can do with it. Then at PowerBI and how that's different and how you get information and how you can use that. And then at the end, we'll show you a demo of the analysis mode, which is a new feature that's coming out in the next version of Business Central, but there's already a preview release, and we can show you how that functionality works. And I'm quite excited about it, and I'm sure you will be too. Okay, so just to put a little bit of time on how much time we're going to spend on each of these things, and I've just changed the order around slightly. We'll start with the analysis views, just because it flows more into the financial reporting than starting with the financial reporting. So we'll spend 15 minutes or so on that, another 20 minutes on the actual financial reporting. The standard reports, going to spend 1 minute. There's not too much that needs to be said about that. 15 minutes on Jet reports, 10 minutes on Power BI, and 5 minutes on the analysis mode, which will take us just over an hour. Maybe a little bit shorter, maybe a little bit longer, but we should be done within the hour and then leave a bit of time for questions. There's quite a lot that we need to go through, so we're not going to be able to go into too much depth and into each of these, but it's more to give you an idea of what's out there, how it works, what you would use each of these different options for, and to make you aware of it, and hopefully to teach you enough so you can get started on it. And you can play around. We'll share at the end some resources as to where you can get more information, and then to start you on your journey of enhancing the reporting that you're doing, or if you're new to Business Central, to get you up and running with the reports that you need to produce. Okay, so basically there's lots of different ways we'll see now, of getting the same data out using all these different reporting options. Okay, so there's one way to skin a cat, and I realized after I put this on, it's maybe a little bit offensive cat, so there's a better cat picture for everyone. Okay, so if we start with the analysis views. Okay, so let's go, we'll just look at what an analysis view is, why you would use it, and how it works. Okay, so if we go into, let's just go straight into Business Central and show you what it looks like. So this is just a demo company. So as you should all know, there's dimensions. I'm not going to go through what dimensions are and how they're used. You should hopefully all have an understanding of that already. But what is important to know is that in your general ledger setup, there are two global dimensions. So global dimension 1 and global dimension 2. Okay, and then there are 8 shortcut dimensions. But you can have as many dimensions as you like. Okay, the shortcut dimensions is just a way of being able to add them as a column or as a field when you're capturing a purchase invoice or capturing a journal. You can add up to 8 that you can fill in on the line. If you want any more than that, you'll need to go into the dimension screen. But what's important is that you've got global dimension 1 and global dimension 2. So those are the most important dimensions and the ones you use most commonly. So let's just go back to that. So in this database or this company, they've got department and customer group as their global dimension 1 and 2. Okay, so what that means is that if I go to my chart of accounts and I, for example, look at my, let's just apply a filter and just look at the income statement. If I look at my accounts and I want to look at the totals, I can click on filter totals and I can filter by those global dimensions 1 and 2. So there's the department and the customer group. So those are the 2 global dimensions. So I can apply a filter for the department and say, let me look at the figures by production or by sales. Okay, and if you drill down into the GL, you'll see that there's department and customer group. Those are the 2 global dimensions. And that's what's stored on the general ledger entry. Okay, so it's great, obviously, if you want to look at the department or you want to filter by the customer group. But if you want to, and in this company, for example, there is a dimension called area. If you want to look at your chart of accounts by area, you can't do it directly like this. Okay, so you would need to create an analysis view in order to do that. So let's just go to the analysis views and to see what that is. Okay, so I'm going to create a new one just to show you what it is. So now, when you create an analysis view, I'll just create a new one called let's just maybe say area, and let's call it by area. You can then say, I want to create an analysis view looking at my GL accounts. I'm not going to go through, you can also do this on cash flow accounts and statistical accounts. We're not going to go into that detail now. We'll just look at GL accounts. So you can then apply a filter to say, I want this analysis view, doesn't need every account in my GL. I just want a range of accounts that is going to be populated in here. So let's just do it by, we're not going to apply a filter here. The date compression, what it allows you to do is it compresses, if you are not going to report on something in buckets less than a month or less than a year or even less than a day, then you can say summarize the transactions by month or summarize it by day. What that does is it just creates a lot fewer entries, and it makes the reports run a whole lot faster. So I'm going to say, let's just do it by day. You can put in a starting date to say when you want this analysis view to be created from. I'm going to just leave that blank. You can say I want budgets to be included in this or not. And then you can choose which 4 dimensions you want to have included in this analysis view. So I'm going to say let's include the area, and let's include the customer group and the department. Okay, so I've now defined my analysis view. I'm going to update it. Okay, so if I update it, what this does is it goes into the GL entry, and it will summarize by day, and it will create an analysis view entry, which is a bit like a GL entry, but it's summarized, it's compressed by day, and it's got these different dimensions. Okay, you can set it, you can enable it to update on posting, which means that when new transactions are posted by users, whether they're posting a purchase invoice, a journal, anything, it will update this analysis view. Okay, I wouldn't recommend turning this on because it does have a performance impact on the system, and because then every time a user posts something, it's got to come and also update the analysis view. So it will slow the system down slightly. What I would recommend rather is updating the analysis views using a job queue, getting the system to do it after hours. Okay, so now we've got our analysis view by area. So what we can then do is I can, from here, click on analysis by dimensions. Okay, and what that will open up is this option. So using that analysis view, the area analysis view, I can now look at create a report or a matrix, and I can choose what I want my lines to be. And your options here are either GL account or period and business unit. So you'll always have these 3 options. Okay, the GL account is obvious. The period is the date range that you've decided to select, and I'll tell you now why it's not called date, it's called period. And the business unit is if you're in consolidation and you've pulled in data from multiple companies, then that would be business unit. Then you've got the other dimensions that have been defined in that analysis view. So I had area, customer group, and department that were selected. So I can choose any one of these things, and I can choose each one to be the line and each one to be the column. You've got the same list here. So I might want to be show my lines as the different areas, for example, and for my columns, I'm going to choose the period, and my date, my account filter, I could go and say, let's just filter on just my income accounts. So say from 40,001 to 40,099. So 40,000 to 40,999. There we go. And you can then, this is why it says by period and not by date. You can say, I want to view what are my buckets going to be. So I can say month, or I can say day or year, etc. So once I've done that, I can say show matrix. And that will then show me, now I've got month buckets by area and what is the amount. I can drill down, you can drill down into these and you will see the actual analysis view entries that make up those figures. Okay, you can also put in a date filter. Let's say 2019 to 31st, 21. I think there should be some data there. Oh, there's yeah, so there we go. We can see for each month what the amount is. Okay, so you can also get it. You can say I want to round the figures to the nearest 1,000. I'm going to show the column name. So there it's now showing the names of the columns, and it's these amounts are now in thousands. Okay, you can say show opposite sign because it's a income, and you just want to show it as a positive value just because it reads better. Okay, so that's what allows you. So these analysis views allow you to analyze your GL by more than just the global dimension 1 and 2. Okay. In addition, so these analysis views are based on the GL entries. You saw we had that here, where the account source is the GL account. In addition to the standard analysis views, we've also got there are sales analysis views that you can define. Okay, and let me just do the test, and that looks at item sales. So you've got again, you can, so with the sales analysis view, you can only choose 3 dimensions. So you would choose whichever dimensions you wanted. So let's just say whatever salesperson, customer group, you can then define it for only a certain range of items or a certain range of locations, and you can then create and update your sales analysis view. Okay, and if we then look at the sales analysis, okay, so we've got here, when we look at the lines, instead of showing the GL accounts, it actually shows the items. So you've got items, location, and period, which you will always have, and then you will have the different dimensions depending on what dimensions you've chosen to create in your sales analysis view. Okay, so when you look at the matrix, you can either show the amounts as the sales amounts, the cost amount, or the quantities. Okay, so you would be able to say, let me look at the sales amount, and we want to look at it by salesperson, for example. And then you show your matrix, and it will show you what the sales are by salesperson. I haven't put in a date filter, so that would have been all sales for all time based on the salespeople. So we can see Joe is the only salesperson that's ever done any work. Okay, so that's a sales analysis view. There's also a purchase analysis view and inventory analysis view. So I'm not going to go, they're defined in much the same way. If we create a new one, it's the same. You can create it by items, locations, and you can choose your 3 dimensions. The inventory analysis views is the same, the same settings as well. Okay, so that's what the analysis views are. Okay, so if we go back to this, the next thing we're going to then look at that kind of flows into, so analysis view you can look at by, as I showed you, doing overview, and you can create a matrix, which is nice. But if you now want a little bit more detailed reports, and you don't want to just have a list of GL accounts, you want to have some GL accounts grouped together or some items grouped together, you will use financial reports. Okay, so there are multiple ways of doing it. You can either create automatic reports based on the GL categories, or you can create your own rows and columns. Okay, let me tell you what I mean by that. So in your chart of accounts, if we look at a GL account like this, you'll see that your GL account, it's either an income statement or balance sheet account. Then you can give it a category, and these categories are fixed. This is the high level category where you've got your income, cost of goods, expense account, and then you've got your balance sheet type accounts. You then got subcategories, which are subcategories. You can define your own subcategories. Okay, so if we go and if we have a look at the account categories, okay, so we go here like this. Here's the master list of all the categories that have been defined. You can within each category you can define as many subcategories as you want. You then can allocate accounts either in here or on the GL account to say what GL accounts are in that category. And it will also show you here which accounts have not been assigned a category. So if you, for example, created a new account and you haven't given it a category, it will show you here what still needs to be categorized. Okay, once the categories have been defined, there's a button here that says Generate Financial Reports. Okay, which is you can either keep the existing ones and create new ones, or you can just overwrite the existing ones. So I'm going to just say, let's overwrite the existing ones. Okay, so if I go now to my financial reports, so now this is financial reporting is what we're getting to here. You've got your different financial reports. Okay, and financial reports are made up of rows and columns because it's a 2D model. So you define what you want your rows to be, and then you define what you want your columns to be. Okay, so by saying generate financial reports, it automatically creates a row definition for you. So I'm going to go and Sorry, let's just go to my row definitions. Okay, and if we look at this is the row. Just to copy it. The reason it says that is because it was the system generated one. So this was automatically created. So let's spend a little bit of time saying, how do you define what your rows are? So this was created automatically. So each row has got a row number. That's just the number, the order in which it's displayed, or a reference to it. It's got a description, and then you can choose what should the totaling type be for that row. So you can say either the different posting accounts, totaling accounts. It should be a formula. It should just be an underline. Set a basis for percent. There's cost types. If you use cost accounting, cash flow. If you're using cash flow, what's quite nice is you can choose an account category. If you're building the report manually, you can choose account category, and that way you can say, I want to have the category office expenses, and that way when you create new GL accounts and allocate them to that category, you don't have to come and update your financial reports and do the mapping to the new GL accounts. Okay, so if you've chosen, like here, that you've just chosen posting accounts, then you would choose the posting accounts. So this would, if I look up here, it'll take me to my list of GL accounts. So I've got my posting accounts that I've chosen over here. You can also add filters for the different dimensions. Okay, let me quickly go back a little bit. I have not linked this. I have not linked this to an analysis view. Okay, but if I did, so let's just quickly go back into it. If you look here, it's got the department and the customer group. Those are my two global dimensions, so those will always be there. But if I link this to an analysis view, like the area one that we created a few minutes ago, if I go now into the row definition, now you see that has changed to the area code. So now I'm able to apply filters for the area code because this row definition is linked to an analysis view that has the area as a dimension in it. Okay, so if you want to apply filters in your financial report on an account, on a dimension that's not your global 1 or 2, you need to link it to an analysis view that has that dimension included in it. Okay, so you can apply filters here. Then the row type, you're going to say, do you want to look at the figures, the balance at date, the beginning balance, or the net change? This is obviously going to be, if you're doing an income statement, it's likely to be net change, whereas balance sheet, you're going to probably look at the balance at date. Okay, the amount type, you can choose the net or just the debits or just the credits. Again, show opposite sign. You can say show it if any column is not 0, and you can make it bold and all these good things. Okay, so that's just to create a posting account. Here's an example of where there's a formula. So you can say, this one is a formula. That's where you would reference the row number. So this total is P1 to P8. Okay, so there we go, P1 to P8, and that's what it shows. So this is an automatically created one. You can also go and create these things manually if you want. So those are the row definitions. Then if we look at the column definitions, let's go in here, and we can look and see, you can choose, you can create your own, and you can also, there are a couple that come with it. So if we look at actual versus budget, so you can see here, we've got a column, again, the columns have a number. This has got the net change. It's a net change, and it's from the entries, not the budget entries. And that's what column A, the first column is going to be. The second column is going to be the budget. We can see that's the budget entries. And column C is the variance, which is a formula, A minus B. And the last column is that's just to show it as a percentage. So A divided by B times 100. So that's going to give you the variance percentage. Okay, so that's an example of actual versus budget. Let's have a look at something else. Let's go into this other company here. I've got a few more different column definitions where you can say, for example, the actual in the current period, and then you've got the actual for the previous period. And what you would do is there's a column here that says it's got the comparison period formula, and you can then fill it in to say minus 1p, which is one period back. After the first session that we had, I think that we distributed a cheat sheet of Business Central date formulas. So you can look at, if you don't have that, just let us know. We can share it again, or I'll send it out after this one, and it will show you all the different date formulas that we have. If we look at per month, for example, you can create something. This company's year starts in October, so you can have the columns being the different months, and then your period formula is add one period, add two periods, etc. We've got that's not a good example. So you can look, you can look at the financial year, the first period. You can look at the budget for the year. You can look at the year to date, where you've got formulas like the financial year from the first period to the CP, which is the current period. If you want to look at it for the whole year, you've got the financial year from the first period to the LP, which is the last period. You can look at the same period in the previous year, where you say minus one financial year from the first one to the last period. So you can define what exactly you want each column to be. Okay. So then when you run your financial reports, okay, and so we go something like this, where you've got, where it defines the, so you've chosen your different, for example, here, this one has got a row definition. Let's just have a look at this. So it's got all these different rows, and this has got totals for different dimensions, but the same set of GL accounts. Those are the different rows. and the column definition is per month. So when I run the financial report, it brings it up. These are the rows, these are the columns. You then put in your date filter, and let's just say if I want to look at the 2022 figures, I just update the date filter, and it automatically applies that filter. You've got the other dimensions that are in the analysis view again. So back to the analysis view, in the analysis view, those are available to you. So if you do reporting by department, you can then go and say, fine, I'm going to run this thing and let me filter for a particular area as well, and then it'll show you all those figures by area. You can then export this to Excel if you want, either by creating a new document or updating a copy of an existing document. Okay, so it's a powerful way of being able to create reports where you've got your rows that you have defined as well as the columns, and you can then mix and match, whether you want to look at actual versus budget, year to date figures, by month, by department, by whatever dimension you want. Okay, so that's where the financial reports are really good at, and what you would use those for. The financial reports, just quickly, are for GL and item sales. You can also create sales analysis reports, okay, where it's the same, it's similar, where you've got lines and columns, and so this is now for items. So if I look, just to show you very quickly, because we need to move on. So here you can go and say, I've got sales lines, and I want to have either by item or by item group or customer group or salesperson or supplier. You define your lines of what you want to show, and again you define your columns, which is similar to the columns are similar to the columns on the financial GL report. The difference is here you would also you would say, I want to either show my quantity sold, or the sales amount, or the cost amount, or the price, or the standard cost. So you could put in the quantity, you can put in the sales amount, you can then put in the cost amount, look at profit and build the columns like that. And then you would look at this one is not, the column template's not set up, but you would run a sales analysis report in exactly the same way as a financial report. But instead of it being GL entries, it's based on item ledger entries and item codes. So you've got sales analysis report, you've also got purchase analysis reports, which work in the same way, but it all looks at purchase entries. And then you've also got inventory analysis reports. So if you wanted to look at things like item adjustments, positive adjustments, negative adjustments, you would use an item analysis report for that. Okay, so that is financial reporting, which actually also includes sales reports, purchase reports, inventory reports, where you define your rows, you define your columns, link it to an analysis view, and that's what you create. Okay, so onto the next option is JET reports. Okay, so JET reports, for those of you that this you should already know, Jet Reports is a Excel-based tool that you install. It's an additional product that you need to purchase if you don't already have a license for it. And what that allows you to do, after installing it, you connect it to your database, and you can then build reports. And the idea is that the reports can be built very easily by yourself. So I'm just to show you, just to go back to what we have covered in the same way. Let's look at financial reports. If we want to create a financial report, I can go just to show you how sort of simple it is. If I click on Fast Financials, it's like a little wizard that will that will help me build the report easily. Just give it a second. Okay, so here we've got the chart of accounts, and you can choose which columns you want to include. And let's say we want to include the headers, and then we can go and let's just build a simple report like is this still the income statement? There we go. Yeah, if we go here, we're going to let's just do a simple take those accounts. You just literally click and drag and say we're going to put them over there. Okay, and then the wizard is going to help and build this report. Build this report for us. Should another second. Come on. While it's doing that, let me just go in here and connect to the company that it's going to be pulling the data from. And just to show you, if we go here, and so this is the company that it's coming from, and these I think were the accounts that I chose for it to bring in. There we go. So it's in, and so now it's given me a it's brought the figures in, and we can see here it's put in a little formula, and it says the sales 6110, that's 853,000 rand, which is this amount over here. Once you've created your report, and you can this is standard Excel, so if you want to color things in or reference other fields or whatever, you can do that. And then I can run the report. If I run it for a few months to 31st of Jan 2019, for example, and I can run that report, we can see, there we go. the report is now in run mode. We can see it's not the full 853,000. What's quite nice about it as well, you can also drill down into any of these entries, and you just drill down here, and you can choose to make it open your Business Central, or you can choose for it to pop open a little data grid window. I've chosen for it to open Business Central. So that's now looking at GL account 6110 for that posting date range, which is the date range that I've got over here. So that's the you can then change the report. Just to show you on this GL function, to go back to the analysis views, when you're querying, so the GL function is to get either the balance or the budget, or just the debits or credits from a GL account. It's got the options of global dimension 1 and global dimension 2. But if I link it to an analysis view, again, so this is now, if I show one where, let's just choose an analysis view, you see now it's popped up and said the project code is now available for me to apply filters. So if I want to build a report on GL accounts that are more than just global dimension 1 and 2, I just simply link it to an analysis view, and then I've got the ability to filter for any dimension that's included in that analysis view. Okay. JET is also so it's excellent for building financial reports, so GL reports like this. Again, if you're going to be using a lot of, if you're building a big report, it's probably better to link it to an analysis view as well, if that's summarized, so that the system doesn't have to calculate and do huge amounts of data by looking at all the GL entries. If it connects to an analysis view, the data is already summarized, so the reports will be a whole lot quicker. Okay, JET also has the ability to write reports pulling data from any table in the system. So if I go and say, fine, I want to look at, so if I say I want to look at the rows and what table, if I click on this, this will show me the list of every single table in Business Central with all the fields on that table. So if I want to look at whatever, the locations, I can choose the location table, and once I've chosen it, it shows me all the names of all the fields on the location table. So from that perspective as well, JET is very useful. So here, just simply looking at the row, the locations, names. Okay, it's asking me for the dates because I'm on the same sheet as that GL report. JET is very useful to be able to create reports as a user without asking development to be done, querying any table in the system. Okay, so there's JET. We could go into a lot more detail, but that's just a very brief overview. It's great for primarily doing GL type queries. To just spend 5 minutes on Power BI. So Power BI, there are two components to Power BI. if you like, there's the Power BI desktop, which is a free app that you can download from the Microsoft Store or powerbi.com. I'd recommend getting it from the store because then it automatically updates to new versions as they are released. So you've got your desktop where I'll show you now that connects, that's free. You can use that to build your reports. Once you've built a report, you can then publish it to the Power BI service, which again is free. There's a free version of it. But if you want to schedule the refresh and then share that report with other users in your organization, you then need a license for that. It's a subscription, it's not expensive, and that way you've got reports that are always up to date. They're shared with the correct people. They can access it through any web browser, on their phone, on their tablet, or whatever it is. Okay, so let's just to give you a very brief overview of what it is. So this is the Power BI desktop app. So when you open it up, you say, you get data. Okay, that Power BI allows you to. It's not a tool for Business Central only. You can pull data in from all sorts of data sources, whether it's other Excel workbooks or other systems. But we're obviously looking at Business Central. So we're going to say, fine, we want to connect to Business Central. And if what I just chose there, I don't know if I went too fast, but there are two options. There's either on-premise or Business Central Cloud. So depending on what you are, which system you use, you'll either use one or the other. So after saying connect, I can see these are my databases or environments. So like you would have production and sandbox, etc. So I'm going to just connect to this preview one and connect to the Cronus company, which is the demo one I'm looking at. If I look, there are a bunch of standard APIs. This now shows you what is available. So what has been published. Okay, so I'm going to just to do a very quick show you what it's like. Let's bring in the customers. Let's bring in the items, and let's bring in the item ledger entries. So if I bring those, if I connect to those, it will connect to my Business Central, and it's bringing in these three feeds into Power BI Desktop, into the model. Depending on how big your database is, there's a demo database quite small. You need to be a little bit clever about not trying to bring in 10 years worth of data into a model on your desktop. It'll take a while and your machine might struggle a bit. So now I've got these three feeds. If I go here, I can see there they are. So there's the customers, the item ledger entries, and the actual items. I can then choose how these tables relate to each other. So we've got the customer number here is the source number in the item ledger entry, and the item number is the item number over here. So we can see these are both one to many. So there's one customer will have many item ledger entries, and one item will have many item ledger entries. So now we've defined how these tables relate to each other. If I click on this little data view, this shows you a preview of the data, so that I can see this is my customer with all the data. Here are all the item ledger entries, and here are all the different items. Okay, so now I can build a report. Okay, so it's really simple. I can, if I just go and say I want to look at the item, and I want to look at the display name, and I'm going to go to the item ledger entries, and I want to look at the sales amount. Okay, so now we can see we've now built in a little report. We've got, they're the items, they're the sales amount. Let's also bring in the quantity. So now we've got the items and the quantities. Okay, we can then apply, let's say, a slicer, which is a way of filtering the data. So if we go and let's bring in the salesperson code, for example. So now I've got the salesperson code, and I can go and click on Joe, and I can see that if I filter by Joe, there's 530,000 rands worth of sales. If I filter by OF, whoever that is, they've done 130,000 rand. So you then build your reports. We can build in a little column chart to then, let's look at it by, if we want to say we'd want it by month, let's bring in the month, and then let's take the sales amount over here. Yeah, now we can go and these are all interactive. So we go and say, well, this is what Joe's, or this is OF, and then we go and say, let's look at this item. Yeah, so if I click on that item, we can see, okay, that is what the sales were for that item. Or that item, or I've clicked on two of them, if I just want the one. And it's an interactive model. Okay, and once you've finished designing it, you can create multiple pages and multiple sheets. You can then publish it to test report. You then publish it to your Power BI service. And from there, you'll then be able to set up a scheduled refresh, and you'll be able to share it with other people in the organization. So when you publish it, it publishes to a workspace, and you can share workspaces if you like. So let's just say we'll open that up. If you create workspaces, you can share a workspace, so all the reports in a workspace are available to the people that belong to that workspace. So this is what it would look like. This is now in a web browser, and it's still, it's still interactive, and it still works in the same way that it did in the desktop. Okay. You can also set up filters so that certain users can only see data to the salesperson code that is linked to them. It's a very powerful tool. It's very interactive, and it's easy to create reports where you are analyzing data. So it's not static data. It's not like a financial report where you pull it off once, where you're doing scenarios and you wanting to be able to say what were October sales, what was June sales, do it by salesperson, etc. Okay. So that's Power BI, just an intro for Power BI. Okay. If we now look at the new feature that's coming out in the next version of BC, it's this, what's called analysis mode. Okay. How that works, let's go into, let's try and find my, here we go. Oops. Sorry, somebody's. Let me just quickly. Let me just quickly refresh this. Okay. So if I go to my item list, for example, and this is now everywhere in Business Central, you'll see there's this little thing that says analyze. Okay. And if I turn that on, okay, it opens I had created one already. It opens the list that you're on in a view like this, which is a little bit like a pivot table. So if you see on the right-hand side, it's got some columns and some analysis filters. Okay, so if we look at the columns, okay, what we can then do, we can choose which columns you want to show, but you can then also group the rows. So I can go and say, let's group it by inventory posting group. So I do that, and now we can see that it's now created groups of the different inventory posting groups. And I can choose which columns I want to show. Let's just hide a few of these things. And let's have a look at it like this. Okay. You can still, while it's in analysis mode, you can still search and apply filters. So if I go and say desk, it will only show, it's the same filtering as before. Okay. Once you can save this analysis, you can rename it. So you will then have multiple analysis views that you'll see. Then also what's quite nice is that this behaves a little bit like Excel. So if I go and I'm just clicking and dragging, it shows me that if you look at the bottom right here, it shows me that the sum of this is 30. The max 10, minimum, count, average. It's the same way as Excel. So it's helping you. You can also select and copy and paste into Excel if you want for those ones. But I think that what you're going to find is that a lot of the time, I mean, I know for myself, you send stuff to Excel in order to sum up a column. You now don't have to do this because we've chosen that this must be the sum of the quantity on hand. And we can then see that it's 57. Whereas before you would have to send it to Excel, highlight all of these, or put a sum at the bottom to get the answer. Here you can see it straight away. And you can create your analysis straight in Business Central. And if we go, for example, to the customers, and if we go and say we want to analyze it, again, we can go and we can still filter on it. So, if I go 1st of December 2022 to the 31st of you can see that the sales amount has changed. And if I go, if I look in my Power BI, which is connecting to the same database, I can see if I click on December, that's 20,000 Rand, which is to $20,000. and Joe is 13, and OF is 6,400. And if I click on Joe, I can see there's Joe's 13, OF is 6,000. So, straight in you haven't even left Business Central, and you're seeing you're able to do analysis like this. And again, you can still drill down into those entries in the same way that you would normally. You can see even on the customer ledger entries, this analyze option is available on pretty much every page in Business Central. Okay, so it's still in preview mode, but it is coming out soon, and I think this is going to be a massive productivity boost, and it's going to make your lives a lot easier. Okay, so let's go back, now that we've seen that, to just summarize. So if we look at the different things that we've looked at, from a financial reporting perspective, that's used to create structured financial reports. Analysis views are to do analysis by more than just the global 1 and 2. Okay, the standard Business Central reports, sorry, I didn't actually talk about those, but that's where you run your standard trial balance or your customer agent. Those standard Business Central reports are used for if you need to print something out. Even that, I don't always find those reports are the best for printing. You're often better off creating something in Excel and printing from there, or even just printing directly from a financial report. The JET reports are excellent for creating financial reports with the formatting and including data from other sources, and writing commentary, etc. Power BI is good for larger data sets, for doing slicing and dicing, and playing or interacting with the data on a constant basis. JET reports, when you want to change something, if you run a report for a period and you want to see the previous period, you have to run the report again. So Power BI is better for that. And then finally, the analysis mode, I think that we're going to find that's going to reduce sending stuff to Excel, and make it and make the analysis in Business Central a whole lot quicker. Okay, so hopefully that's given you a taste of the different reporting options and what is available. And it's not that there's one right answer or one way of doing things. There are multiple ways of doing things, and you need to, based on what your needs are and what you're trying to get out of the system, is going to determine what option you should use for what purpose. Okay, so let me just see. I haven't been following. I don't know if there have been any questions that have come up. So Zan, I don't know if there are if there's anything that you want to publish.
There's no questions yet that I've seen here.
Okay. Okay. If there aren't.
There's Moreno. Do you want to?
You want to, Miranda, do you want to talk if you want, or type in a question?
Sorry, I've just sent a message, but I don't see if you get the answer, the question there. I'm looking for a report that actually lists the journals that was posted for a specific year. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, but including the details of those journals.
That's correct, yes.
Okay, so there isn't a report directly like that. What I would suggest, the best starting point would be to look at the GL register, because that will show you. Let me just quickly show you here. The GL register shows you who did what and when. Okay, so let me just go to this one has all just been done by a system user. So let's just see if, oops. Okay, so you would then be able to see, you would be able to use this as a starting point to say when, the creation date, so i.e. in that financial year, you would then be able to sort or filter on a source code, like journals, so depending, like if it was, for example, just general journals, you could then go and filter on general journals, and then using that as a starting point, join it to the GL entries, because you can see here that this one is showing, it's from entry number 3080 to 3087. And that would be, those are all the GL entries. And obviously those GL entries, like you can see here, the posting date is 2019, but they were actually created in 2017. So if you're looking at what was done in the year versus what was the date that the actual journal was posted, so that's how you would get that information. Okay.
Doug,
Yeah.
it seems that
Yes.
people are putting the questions in the chat.
Great.
And
Have they published them?
so it's not going into that Q&A section.
Okay. Okay. Just to quickly then go through these from Lazan, can you copy to different companies the same report layouts? Yes, you can. You can. I don't know, Lazan, if you're talking about different companies and different in different databases, but the report layouts are the report layouts, custom report layouts are available across all the companies. So no matter which company you're in, it's still got all of those report layouts. And if you look at the report layout selection, that allows you to choose different layouts for different companies, but the layouts by default are across all the companies. Miles's question about the new analysis view, when's it going to be available? Microsoft hasn't announced the actual date, Miles, so I can't tell you. It's not going to be. There's a release coming out now on the 1st of April. It's not in the first version of the release. It's probably later on either later on in April or early May. Rian asks, I have an existing Power BI with the change in the financial year. The report's not pulling through the new budget. How do I search? Rian, we'll get hold of you and help you with that. I don't know that this is the right forum for that. Okay, and I see that Monashi's got the same issue. Okay, fine. We will get hold of you guys independently and help you with that. Okay. If that's the questions for now, that's great. I hope this session gave you an idea of what's out there and available. If you do have specific questions or you need help or more information, or you need assistance in getting going, just be in contact with us. Send a mail to the help desk or to myself, and we will connect with you and assist you. Okay. So thanks very much to everyone for coming. I hope you got some value out of this, and enjoy your weekend.